All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Torah Studies. This is our weekly look at the Torah portion, and it is exciting to be here with you tonight. All right, we have a lot to talk about, Tonight, we're going to talk about the concept of tomorrow. Tomorrow. You ever hear the expression, like, we hope in a better tomorrow?
Yeah.
And then you wonder, like,
Wednesday.
huh? Oh, that's exactly tonight's class. Is tomorrow Wednesday or is tomorrow something else? Hello, hello, welcome. Right, is tomorrow Wednesday or does tomorrow mean something else, maybe a little bit non-literal? Good evening. Good to see you, Meira. Is your sister here?
Yeah.
Very
It was
cool.
just called that and wait for.
Understood. All right. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at our Torah portion. We're going to first start with Passover. Look at the Haggadah, and we'll quote some famous passages that I think we all remember from the the Seder. Seder, kind of what we do at the Seder. Then we'll look at this week's Torah portion that has a source of one of the elements from the Seder. Hello, welcome. Then we're going to we're going to quote the verse in our Torah portion, which I may have just mentioned. We're going to look at Rashi. After Rashi, we're then going to ask some questions. We're then going to look at the book of Joshua, bonus text that I printed out for you guys. Chapter 22 of the book of Joshua or Yeshua. We're going to learn that tonight as well. It's an epic chapter. And that will be followed by walking away with some huge insights into Rashi, the Torah portion, Passover, and how to communicate and create legacy for ourselves and our families and our children, and how to ensure a better tomorrow for us all. All right, that's the scope. But now that we talked about it, I think we're good. Kidding. Now let's actually do it. All right, that's going to be the plan. So I want to begin not in the parsha. Well, all right, let me talk about the Torah portion. This week's Torah portion is Bo. And of course, if you're like me and you remember the 1980s, 90s, Bo Jackson, remember that guy? Dual threat, Bo Jackson, baseball player, football player, Nike used to run ads. Hey, Sandrine, great to see you. Bo knows. Oh, wait, hold on. Does anybody raise a hand? Does anybody remember the Bo Knows campaign? Bo. We got a few folks. Hey, Dasi, good to see you. Welcome. Bo Knows. Like Bo Jackson, the football player. Kansas City Royals. Who else did he play for? Kansas City Royals. That was the baseball. Who did he play for?
Oakland
Raiders. And then he got injured. I think it was Monday Night Football.
A hip injury. Had a hip replacement.
That was it. Unbelievable. A talent. This guy was unbelievable. And has nothing to do with this Torah portion, other than the fact that the Torah portion's name is Bo. Can you imagine? Oh, yes. They named Bo Knows Torah.
Because they kept telling him
Bo knows plagues. Bo knows Pharaoh. So God says to Moses, interestingly enough, Bo El Paro means come to Pharaoh, which begs the obvious question. Unless God is Pharaoh, what? Right? It's like, what does it mean, come to Pharaoh? It's go to Pharaoh. And I know what you're thinking, well, if it was Lech, we already have that Torah portion. Lech Lecha, you got to use a different word, right? It's not going to work twice. Lightning can't strike twice in the Torah, but it is a little weird. And of course, the commentators explained that God is really telling Moses, come with me. Bo'i mi el paro, come with me. The most difficult moments in life, the ones that create the greatest stress, when we feel we're alone, cue the sappy parable with the footprints. You know that one? The guy showing a video of his life, and the good moments, there's like two sets of footprints, and it's God. And then the difficult moments is one set of footprints. And it's like, God, where were you in those difficult times? And God says, I was carrying you on my shoulders. Those are my footprints, bro. I added bro. God doesn't say that. Anyway, Bo does, but God, right? But like that whole thing, Anyway, Bo, Paro, God says to Moses, Bo, also Gematria. We love Gematria. Gematria is Hebrew numerology. Many of you have taken Hebrew numerology with me. Yeah. Numerology of Bo is, well, the letter Bet is which number? 2. Aleph is 2 plus 1 is 3. Keeping it basic tonight. Bo, the Gematria of Bo, the numerology of Bo is 3. Guess how many, wait for it, plagues there are in this week's Torah portion?
3.
You guessed that last week we had 7. There's 10 total. Add the 4, right? Throw in an imaginary number. I'm kidding. 3 plagues in this week's Torah portion. Bo is 3 plagues, and you're out of Egypt. Yeah? So, Torah portion speaks about the final 3 plagues. Locusts, darkness, and death of the firstborn, following which Pharaoh comes to Moses in the middle of the night in his pajamas, and he says, Moses, I would like you to leave. You and your people are no longer welcome. And the Exodus happens in this week's Torah portion with much fanfare. Great. However, and I liken this to a selfie, like the world's first conceptual selfie. Because what is a selfie if not trying to capture the moment as you're experiencing it? Correct? Is that a selfie or is that just a picture? Either way, a picture. What's a picture? Picture means you're at the Grand Canyon, but instead of just experiencing the Grand Canyon, you're taking a picture to remember it for later. So what happens by the Exodus? 3 times in this week's Torah portion, Hashem is telling Moshe to tell the Jewish people how to frame the Exodus for the future. 3 times. If your son asks, this is what you should tell your son. Your son means child, right? Tell your child this, that, the other, 3 times. Once more in the book of Deuteronomy, that's like another few books, does the Torah talk about how to educate your child vis-a-vis the Passover story in the Exodus. Our sages formulate from the different approaches, 3 in this week's portion, 1 in Deuteronomy, that we're dealing with 4 different children. Hence, the 4 sons, or the 4 children. We deduce from the nuances of the answer who we're meant to address that answer to. And this is, of course, a lesson in parenting, a lesson in education, a lesson in communication. Tailor your message to the recipient, right? Tailor your message to the recipient. I've told you my idea for a very quick alteration company called the Swift Tailor. But I digress. Tailor, it would work.
But not Taylor Swift.
No, that's definitely trademarked. Taylor Swift? No way. The Swift Tailor. That's got to be fair use right there. I'm just saying. All right, back to the story. So clearly, the Torah is telling us about tailoring the message, speaking to the children. We have 4 children. Who are they in order? Number 1, wise. Number 2, right, wicked. Number 3, simple. Good. Number 4, doesn't even know how to ask. So tonight, we're going to enter into the conversation with son number 3. Now, you should know, it's not sequential in the Torah. It's not like the first time that we're taught about how to educate, how to communicate the thing that's happening to the future when it won't be happening more. Because that's really what's happening. God is saying, you're experiencing this. Here's how to relate this in the future. So it's not like it's in the order of wise, wicked, simple, not knowing how to ask. It moves around. That's the order around the Seder table that we explore. We'll talk about the significance of that a little bit later in tonight's class. But here's what you need to know. Tonight, the verse that we focus on at the top of our class is the verse that deals with, that is the reference to what we call in the Haggadah, the simple son, although you won't find those terms at all in the Torah. In fact, even with the wicked son, you'll find an answer. The Torah gives an answer. It's not like we blunt his teeth like in the Haggadah on the Seder table. We reserve that for the Matz and the Mar experience. But here is how the Torah formulates the simple son's question. All right, Jose, please read text 1a. Actually, 1 second. We pull this up online. Hold on. Stay with me, everybody. Okay. Almost ready? 3, 2, 1. Take it away. Text 1a.
And it will be tomorrow when your son will ask, what is it? What is this?
And if you recall, thank you. If you recall, that is literally what our sages say is the question of the simple son. Mazos, what is this? He doesn't even know what to ask. He doesn't say, what are these? Eidos, chukim, mishpatim, different types of laws. He doesn't know the complexity of law to even ask about it. He's like, what's up, Doc? Oh, sorry, that was a different character. Anyway, he's just like, what is this?
Bugs Bunny.
That was Bugs Bunny, correct. All right, so Rashi jumps in. Because if you notice, there is a word, actually, you tell me, which word sticks out of this verse? A little weird, even in the placement grammatically, in the English.
Tomorrow?
There you go. Tomorrow, right? It will be tomorrow when your son asks. Tomorrow? Why tomorrow? What does tomorrow mean? Text 1b, Jose, please continue. Here's Rashi. This is the Rashi for tonight.
Tomorrow when your son will ask. There is an immediate tomorrow and a tomorrow in the distant future. Tomorrow in this passage refers to the distant future. Similarly, tomorrow your children will tell our children. Joshua 22:24. In the story about the descendants of God, of God and Reuben.
Okay, so Rashi, in his his style, which is epic, he says, okay, tomorrow, the word machar, tomorrow in Hebrew, right? Machar. So there is a machar that's immediate and a machar that is in the future. And he says, what is this machar? This is the distant future one. And then he cites a proof text from the book of Joshua, chapter 22. Tomorrow, your children will tell our children, and that tomorrow is not literally tomorrow, it's a tomorrow that's in the future, etc. And that is the proof that Rashi is citing. Make sense? Okay. Yeah. Ish. 100%. As you know, we are never satisfied with Rashi at face value. We're going to go a little bit deeper and ask a bunch of questions. So I actually have like probably 4 questions now. And here's the thing. We can go very deep in this Rashi, but it can also get kind of complicated. So I'm going to ask all the questions and we'll see how many we'll answer, but try to keep the narrative straightforward and easy to understand. Huh? Ooh. All right. Well, all right. Let's make it complicated. Question number 1. If I were to ask you, what is Rashi's major point? What would you say? What is Rashi trying to tell us about the word machar? What does it mean?
It's not literally tomorrow, it just means future.
Great. So then if you were writing Rashi in a succinct fashion, or if you were Rashi writing your commentary in a succinct fashion, what would you say?
In the future.
Good. Or you would say this machar is referring to somewhere in the future. Why does he say, he starts giving us a lecture in machars? There's an immediate tomorrow and a tomorrow in the distant future. Don't tell me there's an immediate tomorrow. I already know what the literal tomorrow is. If you're telling me this is not the immediate tomorrow, as in Wednesday, in our context today, right? Then just tell me that this machar is kicked out. You understand that question? Bit of a technical question? Not so technical. Question the wording.
But he likes to be very literal.
Okay. So you're saying that Rashi is letting us know, he's winking to us like, I know what you're thinking. There's a literal machar, but this is not that. But the truth is he could have alerted us to that by just saying, this machar, see, Rashi, let me just see if I could rewrite this now. That's the quote that at the beginning. When tomorrow when your son will ask, Rashi could have said the words as follows. Machar zeh hu la'achar zman. This machar is in the future. By saying the word this, it implies not all, because there's a simple meaning, but this one is. You understand how? Listen. Now, you might say, like, why are we being so brutal with Rashi? Like, let the man live. Like, okay, so he wrote a few extra words. Like, it's a free country. You can't write a few extra words. Sure, unless you have a really deep understanding of why he would write that, in which case to gloss over it means you're losing out on a really cool explanation, which we have. So let's ask the question, why does Rashi tell us the obvious, that there is an immediate tomorrow, when that's not even the meaning of this tomorrow, right? This tomorrow is not the literal one. Don't tell us what the literal one is. We already got that. With that we got. Question number one. Okay, so question number one is in that middle paragraph where Rashi kind of like preambles on us and says, there's an immediate tomorrow and tomorrow in the distant future, and this one is in the future. Shkoya, thank you very much. Just tell us what this one is. You don't have to go the whole preamble. That's question number one. Question number two. Question number two is the verse that he brings. He brings a verse that says, similarly, tomorrow your children will tell our children. So first of all, we don't, as of right now, we don't really know what that reference is. It's in Joshua, but man, it would be so convenient if we had like, I don't know, Joshua chapter 22 ready to roll out for all of us to read and study and explore. I mean, that would be like totally amazing and epic if only we had enough copies for everyone and PDFs to go. Look at that. But the question before we read this is, why does Rashi bring the verse from Joshua? Just tell us, look, just give us the info, Rashi. Just tell us that, sometimes tomorrow is not literal. Sometimes tomorrow is, kick down the line in the future. That's really what Rashi wants to say. Get in, get out, move on. Not move on from Rashi, but Rashi, move on to the next commentary. And then Rashi doubles down, triples down. And he says, oh, that verse, tomorrow your children will tell our children, that is in the story about the descendants of Gad and Reuven. Okay, we can look it up and we'll know the context. Why is Rashi telling us? We had a similar question, I think, last week. Why is Rashi like getting into the specific context of, oh, by the way, this is with regards to the sense of Gad and Reuven? All right, we can figure that out on our own. I'm going to ask one more question, just to get even more technical. The descents of Gad and Reuven? Gad and Reuven? God and Reuven? Sorry for keeping asking the same thing. It's Reuven and Gad, right? It's like, oh, I love Costello and Abbott. Right? That's annoying. Abbott and Costello, right? But Bailey and Barnum. No, it's Barnum and Bailey.
Also,
Reuven and Gad.
Moshe and Aaron. Moshe.
Yeah, okay. But there was a reason for that. So, and there must be a reason if you're deviating. In other words, the question here is Gad and Reuven. Why am I likening it to Abbott and Costello? Well, they were hilarious. I'm kidding. Gad and Reuven. Reuven was the first tribe, was the firstborn tribe. Gad was like way down the line. And when the Torah refers to them, even the verses in Joshua 22, which we will see every time those two tribes are referenced, it's Reuven and Gad, not Gad and Reuven. Rashi flips it. Here's the premise. Rashi is like the Torah. Rashi is super duper precise. I mean, in the Rebbe's imagination of Rashi, every word of Rashi is precise, specific, intentional, and instructive. Exactly. And therefore, the fact that Rashi, number one, gives us the whole preamble, including the obvious meaning of tomorrow, the fact that he says, well, there's an immediate tomorrow, which we already know, that is instructive. The fact that he cites the verse, tomorrow, your children, the fact that he cites that proof text specifically has got to have some significance. The fact that he tells us that it's in reference to the story of Gad and Reuven is significant. The fact that he puts Gad before Reuven when that does not even make sense, to put that one before that one, that also is significant. And therefore, my friends, we need to figure out what is the significance of all of these, for lack of a better word, anomalies, all of these curiosities in Rashi's text. All right,
Does the word son always refer to future generations, or is it literal to your own side?
Son could mean immediate. Son does not necessarily mean kicked into the future. But I like what you're thinking. I like where you're going with this.
Is that different than tomorrow?
No. Son and tomorrow both could be your son, literal son, or your
great
future
generation son, descendant. Good point.
Rabbi, I don't remember. Were Gad and Reuben on the east side of the Jordan River?
Boom. Yes. Yeah, sir. Yes.
Okay,
Now,
so it
we're going to get
refers
into
to
that.
that.
Yeah. That is going to be a clue. It's a major clue. Okay, so this is actually, we should do like a true crime version of Torah Studies. That would be fun. Which we kind of are doing. We're dropping clues and then, we're, seeing what we get to pick up, which is awesome. All right, so I think the way to do this, the best way to do this, there's a few, I've been thinking about this, all day. There's a few different angles to do this. I think maybe the best option is to go into Joshua 20. I think we should do that. I think we just bust into the proof text, the source text, and then kind of figure out from there, kind of reverse engineer what was Rashi really intending when he pointed us to that verse, and when he told us, by the way, look over there, there's a clue, right? This is like, right, Professor Rashi, like, check the clue, Joshua 22, that even rhymes for you. Okay, so here we go. What we're going to do now, it's a long chapter. I'm going to read it, and I'm going to throw in commentary to explain what's going on. But before we do it, I need to explain a little bit of context. Okay, that's how we're going to do this. Let me give you a little bit of context with this story. And as Dr. J mentioned, the story begins in the book, in the Torah, in the book of Numbers. Okay, it begins in the book of Numbers with regards to the settling of the land of Israel. So the Jewish people have wandered for 40 years, and that is a direct result or consequence of the sin of the spies. What was the sin of the spies? When they sent 12 spies to scout out the land and to just give information, intel on what's going on across the border in the land of Canaan that will become the land of Israel, what's going on. 10 of the 12 spies come back with a negative report saying, well, the land is wonderful, it's great, they have amazing ice cream. I'm paraphrasing. However, the people there are giants, the cities are fortified, and essentially we got no shot. So like, yeah, we can go in, but it's literally a death wish to go in and try to conquer the land. It's a fool's something, whatever that expression is. This is not going to work. Great. So that causes the Jewish people to cry and to complain and to shout and scream, why, God, why did you take us out of Egypt? Moses, what are you doing, leading us to the slaughter? What's happening? Our lives are gone. Like, oh, what about the women and the children? They're all panicking. It's only the guys, by the way, that panic. The women never lost faith. The kids didn't know what was going on. The dads, the adult males are panicking, and that is what's going on. So God says, all right, listen, I get it. If you're panicking, it means you're not ready. This is how Rambam, Maimonides, explains in Moreh Nevuchim, Guide for the Perplexed. God says, look, I get it. You're traumatized. You're slave. You're people that have experienced extreme hardship and being thrust into a situation where you have to face adversity is just too much for you to handle. I get it. That's okay. You will live. You're not going to die. There's no plague that's going to break out that's going to kill you all. You can live out, this generation will live out its life in old age. In 40 years' time, your kids will be the next generation born in freedom. That next generation, they will be the ones to conquer the land and face the challenges that arise. Make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Then you have the narrative continues. B'nai Reuven and B'nai Gad, 2 of the 12 tribes. They come to Moses. This is the end. Oh, I'm sorry. That was the decree of the 40 years. So they wandered for 40 years, right? Wander. They didn't do that much wandering. They went around a little bit, change of scenery. Oh, a new cactus, whatever. They went around a little bit, and before you know it, 40 years are over. And the new generation is here. Moses is still around, and it's now time to go in. And so, they make a beeline. I'm just Israel, whatever. So they go from my angle, whatever. They go in from that way instead of this way. They're going in that way. Great. So they're going to go in from like the northeast. Yeah, that's where they're going in. And they're in the area called the Transjordan, i.e. the other side of the Yarden, the other side of the Jordan River, the land of Moab. And 2 of the tribes come to Moshe and they say, actually,
good here.
This is really nice. It's really nice. We have a lot of cattle. The animals are loving this. The kids love the parks, right? I'm paraphrasing, right? It's good for the cattle. It's good. So listen, if you don't mind, they tell Moses, we'll stay here, and that's it. And literally in the Torah, you can sense it through the text. I don't have it here. We have, you see panic and anger rise in Moses. He's like, you've got to be kidding me. This is 40 years later. And again, you're saying 2 of the 12 tribes, it's not an insignificant number, are saying that, oh, you know what, we're good here. We don't want to go in the land. He says, don't you remember what happened 40 years? Right, when people came back with a negative report, they disheartened everybody, and everyone said, we don't want to go in. Right? All it takes is one. It took 10 people. Here's 2 whole tribes saying we're good. You know what that's going to cause? It's going to cause panic. It's going to have punishment. This whole thing. And so they say to Moses, one second. I think this is what they tell him. I think you're misunderstanding us. We're not saying we don't want to go in the land, or we're not supportive of that. No. We are all behind it. We are supporters. We will even fight. In the act or whatever, in the battles to conquer the land, we will go in. Like, we will be right there, shoulder to shoulder with our brothers, with the other 10 tribes. We're going to be there to conquer the land. All we're asking is for our wives, the women and children to remain here.
And the cattle.
We'll go in, and the cattle, right? And then we'll come back. So Moses says, okay, got it. Okay. All right. Thanks for clarifying. If you will do this, if you will go and fight after the last wars are fought, then you can come back, and then we have a deal. And then, the 5 books of Moses, we have that's kind of the end of the book of Numbers. Deuteronomy is we've done this before. For some of us, we've done this many times before together. Book of Deuteronomy is the last 37 days of Moses' life, where he gives his farewell address, and it's really beautiful and emotional and informative and instructional. And then he passes away. And I think for most of us, that's kind of where our Torah, our written Torah study kind of ends. Some of us study, the books of the prophets, but not always. Not always consistently. I think it's an underrepresented study. But the very next book in the Jewish scriptures is the book of Joshua. The book of Joshua tells us, well, what happened next? So Moses dies. He never makes it into the land. Joshua is the next leader. And it's like, in synagogues around the world, we finish it on Simchat Torah, and amidst a lot of l'chaims and fanfare. And then we start again from the beginning. In the beginning, God created heaven and earth. And like, what happened? Did we ever make it in? Like, we don't even know. It's like, hold on. Moses died. Joshua took over. He was going to lead them in. What actually happened? Was it successful? I mean, I guess so. I guess we made it in. But how did it all play out? Oh, yeah. There was Jericho. They circled the city 7 times with trumpets, and the walls fell down. We have like vague recollections, but it's like, I don't know. Have we studied Joshua? It's not a criticism. It's just saying, like, sometimes it's underrepresented. So
we're still waiting for the sequel.
We're still literally waiting for the sequel, but it's almost like, oh, no, we'll just start episode 1 again. What is going on here? It's like,
let's call Charlton Heston and find out what happens.
Literally, we need Charlton Heston on the case. So here's what happens: the Jewish people go in and they conquer, etc. So just to get back to our narrative, what happened with Reuben and Gad? Those 2 tribes where God made a deal. Moses made a deal with them and said, if you go in, etc., then you can. So what happened? Let's go. Chapter 22. Pass, please. Taking pass, please. Again, I'm going to read this. I know I sent down a few extra copies. Just keep them for posterity. Okay, here we go. Joshua, the book of Joshua, chapter 22. You guys ready?
The same.
Sit right back and I gave you the wrong copy. There you go.
Next.
See that? Never
You're
trust a
trusting me?
rabbi. Yeah, well, no, gave you the wrong copy. All right, here we go.
Oh,
All right, true. Joshua chapter 22. You guys ready? All right. Oh, one more thing. When Moses made the deal with Reuben and Gad, those two tribes, he said, and I'm going to throw in half of the tribe of Manasseh with you. Instead of 2 tribes fighting and then coming back, let's make it 2.5 tribes. Manasseh never asked to do that, but Moses knew that Manasseh was one of the sons of Joseph, and Joseph was a lover of the land of Israel. He figured if they ever get a little too excited about not living in Israel, Manasseh would keep him focused on the what's what. Anyway, so here we go. So this is after the battles have been waged. Verse number 1. Then Joshua called the Reubenites and the Gadites and the half tribe of Manasseh, and he said to them, you have kept all that Moses, the servant of the Lord, commanded you, and you've obeyed me in all that I commanded you. You have not left your brothers these many days to this day, but have kept the charge of the commandment of the Lord your God. Now, what is he referring to? What did they do?
They fought the battle.
They kept their end of the deal. They fought the battles. Great. And now, verse number 4. And now the Lord your God has given rest to your brothers as he spoke to them. And now, in other words, now the fighting is over. Great. Well, what happens? There's a deal here. When the fighting's over, they get to go back. And now turn and go to your dwellings. Look at this. The fulfillment of, isn't it cool how it actually comes full circle in the book of Joshua? Who would have thought? And now turn and go to your dwellings, land your possession, which Moses, the servant of the Lord, gave you on the other side of the Jordan, i.e., this is on the, hey, Mike, good to see you. This is on the eastern side, thank you, of the Jordan River. Only, verse 5, take diligent heed to do the commandment and the Torah, which, look at this. Don't forget mitzvahs, Torah mitzvahs, when you're over there living not amongst everyone else. Don't forget Judaism, basically. Don't forget, only take diligent heed to do the commandment and the Torah, which Moses, the servant of the Lord, commanded you, to love the Lord your God, to walk in all his ways, and to keep his commandments, and to cling to him, and to serve him with all your heart and with all your soul. And that's a paraphrase of what seems to be like probably a dozen verses in Deuteronomy, where Moses in his final speech tells the people to do all these things. And now Joshua is saying, don't forget. All right, verse number 6. And Joshua blessed them and dismissed them, and they went to their tents. And to the half tribe of Manasseh, now that's the other half, right? This is my brother Daryl and my other brother Daryl. Wasn't that a show something somewhere, maybe? I don't know if I got the names right. Which half tribe? And to the half tribe of Manasseh, that's the Israel half, Moses had given inheritance in Bashan. But to the other half, Joshua gave among their brothers on this side of the Jordan westward. I'm sorry. Bashan is on the other side. Bashan is the Transjordan. And the other half, Joshua gave in Israel on this side of the Jordan westward, to the west, not on the east, on the west side of the Jordan. Oh, and also when Joshua dismissed them to their dwellings, he blessed them, both halves of the tribe of Manasseh. And he said to them, saying, return with much wealth to your dwellings, with very much cattle, with silver, with gold, with copper, with iron, with very many garments. Divide the spoil of your enemies with your brothers. Great. What a blessing. I mean, they had conquered the Canaanites. They had a lot of spoils. Go home, take some loot, enjoy life. And the children of Reuben and the children of Gad and the half tribe of Manasseh returned and departed from the children of Israel out of Shiloh. Shiloh, that's where the Mishkan was. Moses' tabernacle, the one that had accompanied the Jewish people 40 years in the desert, it was with them in Shiloh, not Jerusalem. Jerusalem only became the capital by King David's time, which is in the land of Canaan, right? To go to the country, so they left there and to go to the country of Gilead, to the land of their possession, of which they were possessed according to the word of the Lord through Moses, i.e., the Transjordan. And they came to the regions of the Jordan that are in the land of Canaan, and the children of Reuben and the children of Gad and the half tribe of Manasseh built an altar there by the Jordan, a great altar to look upon. I know the verse is a little bit confusing as to where they built it. It says in the land of Canaan, but it means basically right by the border, right outside the border, right past the Jordan River on the other side of the Transjordan. They built an altar.
Wasn't it on the river?
That they put stones in the river, a monument. That was everybody that put 12 monuments. This is something else. They built an altar, a great altar to look upon. Well, hold on. That is exactly the question. Because you know that in Jewish law, how many altars are there? One altar. And where is that altar? in the temple or in the Mishkan, wherever, right? The
Shiloh.
Holy Sanctuary. Now it's in Shiloh. Mitamo, these guys go back. The next thing you know, they're making an altar. Red flags are flying. And the children of Israel heard say, they heard the rumor. Behold, verse 11, behold, the children of Reuben and children of Gad and the half tribe of Manasseh have built an altar over against the land of Canaan in the regions of the Jordan, at the side of the children of Israel.
I have a quick question about the altar.
Yeah.
So at some point in Judaic history, did it become, because I know, like, for example, in 2 Kings, right, Josiah was going around destroying all the tribes and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But there were other altars at the time, right? And they had specific rules where, like, if you are to make an altar, do not touch it, but you profaned it if you touch it with human tools.
Well, there's so much in Torah.
So did it come? So at some point in time, was
So
it cool? for another altar?
typically, any other altars were forbidden.
Really?
Yeah.
After.
Yeah, after at once there was a temple that was built, or even the portable temple, the Mishkan, the sanctuary, the tabernacle. Any other space or place of worship was forbidden. It was only in that one specific place.
So in
Rabbi?
all of the worshipers,
What's that, Jay?
in all of the worshipers of God, only one place was allowed to have.
Yeah,
an
and those
altar.
other ones, that's why they were built and destroyed, because they were
Was it concerned
idolatry.
that it would become a votive spur?
Yeah, well, that was considered to be idolatrous. Maimonides, in his Guide for the Perplexed, posits that it's because God really wanted to wean the Jewish people off of sacrifice. So he basically limited it severely. You can only do it in one place. It's not going to be a proliferation of
It's
this.
all about the sacrifice.
Rabbi,
Yeah,
this is almost like a prophecy of what happened with the Bummers in the Northern Kingdom. He's almost prophesying that this
That's
is
what
going
Ramon
to
is
be.
saying. This is going to be a problem. It's going to be a problem that people are building their own. Exactly. Now, listen to this. So Reuben and Gad build this altar, and then the word spreads, right? Next thing you know, it's on Twitter, X, whatever, and everyone, like, it's blowing up. Like the hashtag, foreign altar is just like taking over the interwebs. So verse number 12 is what happens next. And when the children of Israel heard of it, the whole congregation of the children of Israel assembled at Shiloh, I'll say the pronunciation, to go up to war against them, Holy cow, right? 13. This is like a civil war. The children of Israel sent to the children of Reuben and children of Gad and to half tribe of Manasseh, the land of Gilead, Pinchas, the son of Eleazar the priest. Remember Pinchas?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, if there's anyone that can take care of business, if you know what I mean, it's Pinchas, right? Yeah. He has no, he spears no effort. Get it? Spears. I'm here all week. Try the veal. All right. So he is, we know Pinchas. Pinchas is the guy who took a spear and skewered Zimri and Cosby, right? The Jewish prince and the Midianite princess that were sinning at the advice of Balaam. Okay. So now Pinchas is leading this thing. He's going to do some fact finding, figure out what's what. And with him, 10 princes, one prince of a father's house for each of the tribes of Israel. And they were each one of the head of the house of their fathers among the thousands of Israel. So now you have Pinchas with representatives of all 10 tribes, the other 10 tribes. And they came, 15, and they came to the children of Reuben, the children of Gad, and half tribe of Manasseh, the land of Gilead, and they spoke with them, saying, thus said the whole congregation of the Lord, what treachery is this you've committed against the God of Israel, to turn away this day from following the Lord, in that you have built an altar that you might rebel this day against the Lord? Is the iniquity of Pa'ar too little for us, from which we have not been cleansed until this day? And there was a plague in the congregation of the Lord. Pa'ar, by the way, the Baal Pa'ar is what Pinchas, that was the women and the idolatry that was going on. That's when he skewered the aforementioned story. That's when Pinchas took matters into his hand, and the idolatry ceased and the immorality ceased. And the plague, ended, but Pinchas is literally saying, don't you remember what happened when you engage in foreign worship? That is not cool. Verse 18, and you will turn away this day from following the Lord. And it will be, since you rebel today against the Lord, that tomorrow he'll be angry with the whole congregation of Israel. By the way, guess what? Oh no, we're only 2.5 tribes. Bro, it doesn't work like that. 2.5 tribes that are bringing their own sacrifice on their own altars, i.e. basically idol worship, because it's not, God said not to. So at that point, we're all going to be in trouble. However, verse 19, if the land of your possession is unclean, then pass over to the land of the possession of the Lord, in which the Lord's tabernacle dwells, and take possession among us. In other words, if there's a reason that like you need to have some Jewish symbology, which is a word that may or may not exist, but it sounds cool now that I say it. If you need some Jewish symbology, so you're building an altar to remind us of the Mishkan, well, then just move here. You can't do that. If you're like, oh no, we need the shtetl, we need a piece of the shtetl, then move into the shtetl. Come, we'll make some room for you. Right? We let the light on for you. Motel 6, huh?
Bo.
Bo, exactly. All right. But do not rebel against the Lord, nor rebel against us, and you're building an altar besides the altar of the Lord our God. Don't build a second altar. That is, oh, now he has another. Did not Achan, the son of Zerah, commit a trespass in the devoted thing, and wrath fell upon all the congregation of Israel? And that man did not perish alone in his iniquity. And you're wondering, who's this Achan? Who's this Achan fellow? Achan was a guy in the original war. Huh? No, that was Korach. Achan is different. Achan is in the first war, well, one of the early wars that they fought under Joshua to conquer the land of Canaan. So God told them in that specific, I think it was Jericho, not to touch any of the spoils. No one should take, not even a shoelace, nothing. No one should touch a thing. God comes to Joshua and he's like, someone took something. And y'all going to be in trouble. One guy took something, one guy couldn't keep, his hands from grabbing some loot, and everyone paid the price. So basically, this is like the finale of this accusation against Reuven, Gad, and Manasseh. You guys, what's with the altar building? We're all going to be in trouble. Collective punishment, 21. Well, here's the response. Then the tribe of Reuben and children of Gad and half tribe of Manasseh answered. By the way, you see the order always, Reuven, Gad, and Manasseh. It's never Gad, Reuven, like I said before. And spoke to the heads of the thousands of Israel, and they said the following: God, God, the Lord. God, God, the Lord. Hashem, Hashem. What's the Hebrew? Kel Elokim Hashem. Kel Elokim Hashem. It's better in the Hebrew. Whatever. He knows. And Israel he shall know. If it be in rebellion, or if in transgression against the Lord, save us not this day. In other words, if we're rebelling, take us out. If we have built us an altar to turn away from offering from following the Lord, or to offer upon it a burnt offering or meal offering, or to offer peace offerings upon it, let the Lord himself require it. And if we have not rather done it for fear of this thing, I wish it would be written more clearly. Not if we did, saying we didn't do this as a rebellion. Rather, why did we do it? Because we were afraid of the following thing, saying, in time to come, your children, the Israeli kids, might speak to our children, the Transjordan kids, saying, what have you done with the Lord God of Israel? Are you even Jewish? Are you even Jewish? You don't live here. For the Lord has made the Jordan a border between us and you, you children of Reuben and God and children of God. You have no part in the Lord. Your kids might say to our kids, y'all are not Jewish. You don't live in the promised land. So shall your children make our children cease from fearing the Lord, and that might turn our kids away from Judaism. Therefore we said, let us now prepare to build an altar for ourselves, not for burnt offering, nor for sacrifice, but that it may be a witness between us and you, and between our generations after us, that we might do the service of the Lord before him with our burnt offerings and with our sacrifice, with our peace offerings, that your children will not say to our children in time to come, you have no part in the Lord. In other words, this is exactly Jewish symbology. We're not going to use the altar, but just know that we are also Jewish. This is the first diaspora of Jews. Wonder, when did the diaspora start? I.e., diaspora meaning, i.e., those not living in the Holy Land. Well, sort of, huh?
The whole time.
The whole time,
The diaspora.
the literal whole time. We've never not had this experience. They were worried that they would not be included in the collective Israel, people of Israel, because they didn't live in the land of Israel. They wouldn't be accepted as the collective Israel. So they built an altar saying, we're on board, we're with you.
It's crazy because it was a beautiful speech and it's a great reason, but it's illegal. Like, you can't do it.
Well, no. It's illegal to use, but not necessarily illegal to build.
So they can't.
Replica.
Okay.
Yeah, whatever. They built a replica. Literally, replicas here, 28. It's almost like I wrote this. Therefore we said, it will be when we shall say, behold the replica of the altar of the Lord, which our fathers made, not for burnt offerings, nor for sacrifices, but as a witness between us and you. Far be it from us that we should rebel against the Lord and turn away this day from following the Lord, to build an altar for burnt offerings, for meal offerings, and for sacrifices, besides the altar of the Lord our God that is before his tabernacle. And Pinchas the priest and the princes of the congregation and the heads of the thousands of Israel who were with him heard the words that the children of Reuben and the children of God, the children of Manasseh spoke, and it pleased them. They're like, cool. Makes sense. Good argument. And Pinchas, the son of Elazar, the priest, said to the children of Reuben, to the children of God, and children of Manasseh, today we know that the Lord is in our midst, that you did not commit this treachery, then you have saved the children of Israel from the hand of the Lord. And Pinchas, the son of Elazar, the priest, and the princes returned from the children of Reuben, from the children of Gad, from the land of Gilead to the land of Canaan, to the children of Israel, and they brought them back word. They explained what was going on to the rest of the people in Israel, and the thing pleased the children of Israel, and the children of Israel blessed God, and they did not intend to go up against them in battle to destroy the land in which the children of Reuben and God dwelt. So Christ is averted, no civil war, and the children of Reuben and children of God called the altar, for it is a witness between us that the Lord is God. And that's how it ends.
I know it like, I'm just confused because how do you get from you can only have this one place here that, oh, actually it's cool if you have a copy of it.
One place here to worship.
Yeah, one place there to worship.
Okay.
They weren't using it to worship. They were just, it was a symbol.
So as
It's
long as-
interesting that at the end, he says, and the Lord your God is, and he uses Elohim, the God of judgment.
Right. God is judged, and it's all cool. Now, which verse does Rashi cite? Verse 25.
Yeah, with the children.
Verse 24. And if we have not rather done it for the fear of this thing, in other words, the reason why we did it is because we were afraid of this. What? Saying in time to come, your time to come. In Hebrew, it's machar, which we translate as tomorrow.
Yeah.
Tomorrow. But in here, you see, it's actually a great translation because this tomorrow is not literally tomorrow, it's time to come.
It's your children's children.
And here's what we need to know. Here's what we need to know. You know, Reuben and Gad had just fought in the war to settle Israel. Everyone knew that they were part of it. It's not like the other tribes didn't know. It was obvious. Not only that, Gad specifically, which is why Rashi puts Gad first. Gad, they were the strongest warriors. They were, I believe, the archers. They were like some of the most powerful warriors amongst the Jewish people. Everyone knew at that point that they were the fighters. Rashi
So did Pharaoh knew
this.
about Joseph.
Oh, that's another reference. I mean, not literally, but conceptually, and you'll hear why. You know what tomorrow means? There's two types of tomorrow. Tomorrow could either be a designation of time or a designation of awareness. Tomorrow could either signify when the sun rises again, or it could signify when this is forgotten. Tomorrow can also mean when a reality shifts, when a reality on the ground shifts, when an awareness changes, when something fundamental happens. Now, when is that tomorrow? That tomorrow could even happen immediately. We can forget about something a moment later that we had clarity before, and suddenly it's not clear. That's what Rashi says. There is a machar that is immediate. You know what he means? He doesn't mean tomorrow machar. He means there's an aftermath, as it were, that could even be right now. You know, somebody could forget or choose to forget something immediately, right?
Yep.
And there's one that could happen after the passage of time, but not necessarily related to time, just a shift in circumstances. Reuben and Gad and half of Manasseh, they were not concerned about the literal tomorrow, or even maybe the literal 10 years from now. They were concerned about an unknown day, an unspecified time, but it's not about the time. It's about a moment in the Jewish psyche where the contributions of Reuven, Gad, and half of Manasseh would be forgotten, like the new Pharaoh who does not remember Joseph, right? Or the same Pharaoh who chooses not to remember right now Joseph.
So why does everyone jump over the word machar in this text saying it means tomorrow, when machar in another text says it, at some point in time in the future? How do we know that the machar here it's translated to tomorrow as opposed
Good.
to.
So the truth is, the translation that we have here, the English translation is not going to help us.
No boy.
When Rashi says machar la'achar zman, yesh machar shumiyat. There's an immediate machar, and then there's a machar that's in a while. That's exactly what you said is what Rashi's saying. When we say machar, it doesn't necessarily mean literally tomorrow. It means when something shifts. And something could shift immediately, something could shift in a while. And this context of when the Torah says, Ki yishalcha bincha machar lemer mazos, when your child will ask you machar, what is this? We're talking about a child who has lost the association of the story of the Exodus, a child who's not there, who doesn't remember it, whose maybe parents haven't even communicated with them. And now at this point, they're like, what is this story? What is the story of our people? Who are we?
But my question is, isn't this just a wrong translation? That why does Rashi latch onto a word that could just as easily be in time to come,
Correct.
your son will ask?
That's why Rashi is pointing us there to tell us that this machar means in time to come. In other words, even though the English has it as tomorrow, don't get stuck on the English. Rashi is literally pointing us to take a look at the reference in Joshua to explain.
But why does he even have to if that's what machar means?
Oh, because machar could also mean literally the day after today. That's okay, good. You're asking the good question. Machar has two meanings. It could either mean literally the day after or 2 days after, or it could be it's not about the day. It's about the consciousness. It's about the awareness, right? Some fundamental shift. And so Rashi says, take a look at that verse in Joshua because, right, tomorrow's 2 minutes, because that verse in Joshua is a classic example of a machar that's not time-based, but consciousness-based. The children, Reuben and Gad, were concerned that there will come a moment, again, it's not about time, but there will come when people will have forgotten about what they did, about how they went to battle and fought for the Jewish people to say, oh, you guys are not even Jewish.
So they're basically saying like when a change comes.
Correct. That's what we need the altar
When time
there.
passes.
And Rashi's saying, you know, when you need to communicate this to your kids or have the right answer, it's when something changes and they're no longer tethered to the story. And it may be tomorrow, literally, maybe the day after tomorrow, literally, maybe 10 years, it may be 100 years, maybe 1,000, maybe 3,350 years later. It may be in our times, right? In other words, there's no telling on when it might happen. And it's not about machar, literally, it's about a machar. It's about an unknown future time when something might shift. And I want to conclude with such a beautiful, and it's really a deep commentary on the four sons that I think is very evocative. I'll read this one as well. I know we didn't read a lot of text inside, but I'm trying to give you like the key answer. I think I explained when Rashi says there's two types of tomorrows, tomorrow that's immediate, tomorrow in the future, he doesn't mean actual days. He means things can shift now or the future. His reference is to the verse in Joshua where the concern is about things shifting. He cites Reuben and Gad, but mentions Gad and Reuben because Gad and Reuben, everyone knew who Gad was. And they're saying, but there will come a time when they're going to forget. Even this fierce fighting, they will still forget. And now I need to bring your attention to this incredible text in our Torah Studies booklets, which is on text number, we covered all this stuff, but the one that I want to reference is, hold on, stay with me, text number 7. Now, I don't know who Rabbi Aaron Wexler is, I'll be honest, but this is unbelievable. For me, you see text 7? The four sons represent the 4 generations of American Jewry. Stay with me for a second on this. This is unbelievable. The first generation is embodied by the wise son, the Chacham. The wise son acquired his wisdom through long hours of studying Torah in the best of Europe's yeshivot before the Holocaust. But alas, the pogroms and persecutions were too much for him to bear, so he fled Europe for the golden Medina, America. The Rasha. Yeah, you have it?
I have it.
Yeah. The Rasha, the wicked son, followed the wise son. Born in America, he was embarrassed by his wise father and his old world ways. He was embarrassed by his father's Yiddish accent and the Judaism he represented. The Rasha rebelled against it all in his attempt to assimilate and distance himself from his dad. He traded his kichel for apple pie and his yarmulke for a baseball hat, disdaining any connections to his past. This really strikes deep. I mean, think about it. This is kind of what happened for many, many Jews that came over from the old country. The next generation, again, we're not calling them wicked. It's more about this fundamental shift. Now, the Rosh's son is the simple son. Tommy was raised by his wicked father, but enjoyed, not literally wicked, but enjoyed a relationship with his wise grandfather. Although Tommy received no Jewish education, never attended synagogue services, his grandfather pressured his father, the Rosh, to give him a bar mitzvah. Although the emphasis was more on the bar than on the mitzvah, Tommy at least knew, that's my line, at least knew that he was Jewish and even attended a few Passover Starim seders that his father led. Finally, page 28, Tommy's son is the Ben She'eno, the Elisha, the one who doesn't even know how to ask. Ben was raised by a simple father, Tom, and had the Russia for a grandfather. The Russia did not prevail upon Tom to make a bar mitzvah. He certainly did not make a Passover Seder for his son and grandson to attend. Sadly, Ben barely knows that he is Jewish and doesn't even know what the questions are when it comes to exploring his heritage, should he choose to do so. And so here is, I think, a very poignant depiction of the 4 generations. And by the way, it sounds like, well, it ends in despair and doom. Oh no, now Judaism is unknown. Okay, so maybe that's how Rabbi Wexler,
And Chabad swoops in.
Yeah.
They fix it.
And it's like, don't worry, we got this. We got this. There's an app for that. Don't worry. The neshama is still there. The Judaism is still there. The identity is still there. All you need is to bring back the kichel. Make the kichel, right? Just bring back the kichel and make that happen. So look, here's the deal. We know one thing. The Torah is telling us about a future. Ki yishalcha bencha machar lemar. Mazos. Right? If your child will ask you in the future, what's this? Machar doesn't mean tomorrow. It doesn't even mean 10 years from now. It means at any point in time where the conditions of the ground shift. In the shtetl, even though it's like thousands of years later, they were still plugged in. The machar means when something dramatic shifts, like when there's a Holocaust and people come to America and then it's a different country and trying to survive and trying to make a living and things are moving pretty quickly and then identity starts slipping. So look, the message is, even in that situation, there's a dialogue. Even in that situation, there's communication. Even in the son who doesn't know what to ask, there's a way to prompt that, to provoke that, right? Chabad does that by posting up on Wall Street, by posting up on, in South Beach on Lincoln Road and saying, "Excuse me, are you Jewish? Would you like to wrap tefillin? Would you like Shabbat candles? Right? How about a class? Right? Want to come join a class?" That's how we roll. And the point of this is simply this: never write yourself off. Never write anyone else off. There's always the opportunity to connect and reconnect. And that's literally what the Torah is telling us. In a future time, when things will shift, there is a story to tell and an narrative to share to bring back and re-inspire the next generation, bring them close to the heritage of their parents and grandparents. And with this, we keep the chain and we keep the fire of Judaism burning
Until Mashiach.
until Mashiach comes.
Right.
And let us say, Amen.
Amen.
All right. Hope this made sense. And it was a lot of the text, but we pretty much covered it and answered all the questions. Can you imagine? Unbelievable. All right. So that's it for tonight. A quick announcement. Tomorrow, you start this. This is called Decoding the Talmud. Why can't I say it? Decoding the Talmud. And this is a 6-week course, 1,500 years. Talmudic literature, Talmudic law, distilled into 6 lessons. If you're asking how is that possible, I'll tell you, textbook is over 400 pages of information, of wisdom, of insight. I will be doing a lot of fast talk. You will think I might be auctioning this very cow that we see in this picture. Do I have average? Do I have average? 1,000? Kidding. We're going to move through this. We're going to break it down. We're going to, pleasure, Larry. We're going to be progressing through the arc and the exquisite architecture of the Talmud. This is a must-attend course. If you're not sure if it's for you, try it out the first class, check it out, and then you will see for yourself. All right, that starts tomorrow 12 and tomorrow 7:30 live and on Zoom. All right, questions, comments?
Yes, Koch.
Pleasure. Good? Yeah.
I mean, it's not reaching. Because you always think that Mahar means.
No, that's the key here. Machar typically is a designation of time. In this context, Rashi's like, it's not a designation of time, it's a designation of contexts, right? It's just a new context might arrive in which the child doesn't even know what the Exodus is. this is how you communicate the story. So Rashi's saying specifically, it's not a designation of time; it's a designation of like mindful awareness, context, etc. So that's where he's going with this. That's what he has to specify here, because usually it's literally a machar tomorrow.
Does he specify it somewhere else?
I don't think so. I don't think so. But here he points us to the right verse to say, hey, look over there how that machar is being used. That machar means something radical is going to happen. Because how could anyone forget what Reuven and Gad and half Menashe did? They were like the warriors in the front. When they spoke to Moses, they said, we're not just going to fight. We'll be in the front lines. How do you forget that?
You want to fight giants.
How is it not? Yeah, how is that not in the history books? Be like, these were the warriors. How could you ever question their Jewishness? There may come a time. How could we ever forget our identity as a people? Our story of how we became a nation, the Exodus, the Passover. How are we ever not doing a Seder? Might happen. Might happen. But don't worry. Here's what you should say. We have a script. This is the genius of the Torah. God is saying, if this should happen, it might happen. So here's how to present it. Here's how to share it. Here's how to encourage. Here's how to, keep the flame, keep passing the torch. Anyway, that's all it's the calling of all of us to keep, it's like relay races, right? Pass the baton, keep that flame burning, keep the torch burning.
And Pesach is the most celebrated.
Yeah. Everybody. Seder. Who doesn't love a good Seder? I love me a good Seder.
But only one.
Who was telling me recently? Oh, I know who it was. Somebody was telling me recently that this past Shabbat, because I met him Shabbat afternoon. I'm like, oh, how was your meal? He's like, oh, it was great. We had some matzah. And then I'm like, wait, stop. You had matzah? He's like, yeah. I'm like, wait, what kind of matzah do you have? Like, is it square matzah, like from the store? He's like, no, like shmur matzah, like from Passover. I'm like, oh my gosh. And I suddenly had like a yearning to eat some matzah. Matzah's good.
Yeah.
Join us for only one Seder.
And why?
Huh?
Join us.
Oh, are you there? Oh, you're there this year? Nice.
The third year in a row.
That's epic. Right, in Israel, right? They was gonna be in Israel, please God. Israel, only one Seder.
Did once.
I can't imagine. Yeah, well, almost, right? It's kind of that direction.
This year you still have 8 days.
Shabbat.
They suck at Erev Shabbat.
Got it. So you still going to Shabbat. All right.
Starts.
Starts Motzei Shabbat. Right, so here.
First Seder Saturday night. That's always fun. When the first Seder Saturday night, that means that you have to get rid of your chametz Saturday morning, which means you can't burn it. If you burn it Friday, you just flush down the toilet. Whatever you have, whatever you have left over. If some because you have to wife to eat some challah. You daven early in the morning. You have your meal. You imagine a Chabadnik's davening early on a Shabbos morning? For that's one exception. No 10 o'clock start that week or whatever. All right, good. Tobo, we miss you in person.
But
I had an accident. I'll tell you tomorrow.
No.
No,
Oh,
I'm okay. I'll tell you tomorrow.
Okay, I'm gonna call you. Feel good. Refuah Shlema. Good to see you all. I'll say goodbye to our online crew, Kay, Vlad, Danny, Dr. Maxie, Ed, Faye, Amy, Waverly, Barry, Larry, Toba, Susan, Belinda, and
Oh, no, it's not after.
Right. No, not tonight. All right.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Take care. Hope you enjoy.